A lot of religions have come and stayed with the life of the nation, dating back to 5,000-year-old history. Korean Buddhism, which has a 1,600-year-old tradition, has been taking the lead in the nation's hardship. The history of the independence movement of Korean Buddhism, which resisted Japanese imperialism, has remained all over the country. A Sanshingang, which exists at the highest summit of a Buddhist temple, is a place where the spiritual emperor Han-in is enshrined. The monks accepted Korean culture and experienced great harmony between their religious beliefs and their daily lives. However, Christianity was different. For Christians, everything else was the Antichrist. They insisted on repenting hatred even for Japan. Christians regarded the anti-Japan movement as a sin to God and practiced religious politics that forced people to surrender to Japanese imperialism. Christianity preached fatalism so that lethargic and uncivilized Koreans could endure Japanese rule. The soul of the nation disappeared as Christianity took the lead in pro-Japanese collaboration. Later, Christians organized groups to conduct campaigns to recruit soldiers and encourage students to join the Japanese army. In 1941, Christians confessed their faith that there is no other true God than Chonjo Daishin, which stands for Japanese Emperor, and a baptism of betrayal was held by the nation. In 1942, in the midst of the Pacific War, the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church in Korea visited a Japanese shrine in Pyongyang and voluntarily donated money to the Japanese army. Furthermore, they donated 1540 church bells to make weapons. The tragedy continued even after the independence of Korea. Kim Gu, the president of the provisional government of the Republic of Korea, was assassinated and Lee Seung-man was elected as the first president of Korea. In 1908, Lee Seung-man refused to translate in court for the case where the Korean independence movement activists Chun Myung-un and Jang In-hwan assassinated Stevens, who was a pro-Japanese collaborator, insisting that they were murderers. After inauguration, Lee Seung-man formed a government with pro-Japanese Christians and secretly held prayer meetings in the National Assembly building. It was obvious that the National Assembly attacked and dispersed the Special Investigation Committee of the anti-national activities, which was to expose scandals of pro-Japanese collaborators. The Korean War was a miserable and sad history that helpless Koreans had to go through. The amount of bombs dropped in Korea during the war amounted to 480 tons, which was more than twice of that in Germany during the Second World War. In the aftermath of the war, Koreans were full of sadness, despair, shame, and anger, where more than 1 million people were killed. Even now, Korea is the only country under an armistice agreement and the only country that remains divided. The Korean people were deeply wounded from the long duration of suffering they had to endure while their nation's soul was lost. Behind the Japanese colonial rule, the Korean War, and rapid economic growth. In 1985, Seoul City made an announcement about the plan for the construction of Dangun Sanctuary to restore the spirit of the nation. However, they failed to implement the plan due to strong resistance from Christians. Even in universities and sanctuaries of intelligence, Korean tradition was trampled on for the sake of the religion. Members of Christian student unions committed the outrage of cutting off Jangsun statue and damaging Buddha statues. According to the Christian doctrine, heaven only exists for those who believe in Jesus and hell for all others.
예수를 알고 예수를 믿고 내 안에 모셔드리셨어요.
회개하십시오. 예수님 믿어야 천국 갑니다. 안 믿으면 지옥 갑니다.
우리가 죽은 후에 영원히 사는 것이 바로 영원한 천국이냐 영원한 지옥이냐.
영원한 천국이 천억 년이라면은 인생 100년은 이 천억 년에 비하면 0.01초보다도 짧은 세월입니다.
이때 그냥 사람 잘 먹고 살아서 그냥 죽으면 끝나지만 그냥 천국에 가서는 꽃밭에서 그냥 노는 거예요.
Their economists Thinking deepens the bipolarization of the world and makes this society more and more sick. In 1998, Dangun statues for reunification of Korea, which were built all over the country, were found damaged with the head, nose, and ears cut off. This outrage was committed by ministers and fanatics, believing that they are descendants of Abraham. Fanatic Christians cut off the head of Dangun, who is their ancestor, and damaged a heavenly ceremony shrine, Tabac Mountain, and regarded all such crimes as religious martyrdom. Christian fanatics still insist that the Gangneung Danwo ceremony is a superstition, even though it is a certain intangible cultural treasure and registers as a world cultural heritage. Therefore, they are still suing and practicing fasting prayer against this ceremony. Today's Korean churches are economically prosperous and are being handed over to family members. Churches in Korea are no longer in a place where the spirit of Jesus resides. Korean Christianity cannot deny the records about pro-Japanese collaboration and anti-national activities, as these will remain in history. Instead of repentance and reform, the Christian Church desires to strengthen the foundation of its power and wealth and enjoy it generation after generation. The attempt to change Korean history and culture according to their own worldview also stems from these desires. Peace among the Korean people is affected from the remaining religious biases and controversies over the Christian Republic. On the other hand, people's anger and petitions are pouring out because of the controversy over National Foundation Day, which denies the history of the establishment of the Dangun Joseon and the legacy of the provisional government of the Republic of Korea. The history textbook recently published by conservative Christian New Light is not only surprising but also shocking. This history textbook is a replica of the Japanese extreme right Kusosha history
예를
textbook.
들면 그 위안부를 동원을 해서 그 영업을 하는 사람이 있거든요.
네.
그리고 종군 위안부 중에서도 그러면 저는 종군 위안부로 안 그러고 군 위안부라고 이야기합니다만 그 위안부 영업자 중에서 조선인이 절반을 넘습니다. 그래서 조선인이 무슨 권력을 가지고 자기가 강제로 전부 동원했겠습니까?
Those who define military sexual slavery for their mothers and sisters as an economic business are New Light. Let us look at a part of the history textbook written by New Light. Painful national history running through modern and contemporary history. In the history, you and I, and we are living. Now, what should we talk to our next generations? Where are we heading to now? What is it that we've really lost? And what is it that we really have to recover?